Hi, my name is Sunny Cabral, and I will be giving you an informative speech on post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll explain what it is, what are the causes, symptoms, and treatments for PTSD. PTSD is an anxiety disorder that can develop after exposure to one or more traumatic events. PTSD victims re-experience the traumatic events in some way and tend to avoid the places, people, or things that might remind them of the event. They are very sensitive to normal life experiences. This condition has likely existed since human beings have endured trauma. Yet, PTSD has only been recognized as a formal diagnosis since the late 1970s. However, it was called by different names as early as the American Civil War when combat veterans referred to it as suffering from a soldier's heart. PTSD is not simply a normal response to an abnormal event. Rather, it is an anxiety disorder that involves specific kinds of physical and mental changes. Approximately 7 to 8% of the people in the United States will likely develop PTSD in their lifetime. Untreated PTSD can lead to devastating, far-reaching consequences. It can not only affect the victim, but the victim's family, and as well as society. Although people hear about PTSD, they don't really fully understand the symptoms involved. PTSD symptoms are divided into three main categories. These three main categories are re-experiencing symptoms, avoidance symptoms, and hypoarousal symptoms. Examples of re-experiencing symptoms would be nightmares, physically responsive, such as a surge of heart rate or sweating to just the thought of thinking of the traumatic event. Another symptom would be flashbacks or acting as if the traumatic event is actually happening at that moment in time. Avoidance symptoms involve purposely trying to avoid talking or thinking of the traumatic event. Some people even feel a loss of interest into what used to be a positive and exciting activity in their lifetime. Some tend to feel distant to family and others, as if their life is being cut short. And last, we have hypoarousal symptoms. These symptoms involve trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, having outbursts of anger or trouble concentrating, or sometimes feeling constantly on guard or as if danger is lurking at every corner. Cases of PTSD are not a new occurrence. Reports of battle-associated stress appeared as early as the 6th century. One of the first descriptions of PTSD was made by Greek historian Herodotus. In 1940 BC, he described during the Battle of Marathon an Athenian soldier who suffered from no injury from war, but yet was blind from witnessing a fellow soldier die. PTSD-like symptoms have been recognized in combat veterans for many military conflicts. The modern understanding of PTSD dates back to 1970. Military experienced the most cases of PTSD and are probably the most affected by it. The diagnosis of PTSD originates from observations of the effect of combat on soldiers. The grouping of the symptoms that we now refer to as PTSD have been previously described in the past as combat fatigue, shell shock, or war neurosis. People suffering during wartime are likely to be exposed to a number of traumatic and highly stressful events. However, not everyone eventually goes to develop PTSD. Some people may be more resilient than others. Still today, at a growing rate, the military operations around the world are still sending our troops home with cases of PTSD. Some factors that may protect someone from developing PTSD have been identified, such as psychological treatment and medication. Of course, some branches experience more cases of PTSD compared to others. Army stats show that nearly 14,000 new cases in 2007 compared to more than 9,500 in 2006 and the previous year and 1,600 in 2003. The Marine Corps had more than 21 new cases in 2007 compared to 1,300 in 2006. More than 5,000 Marines have been diagnosed with PTSD since 2003. The Air Force is now receiving more cases of PTSD because of the joint branch of operations taking place all over the world. Since effects of PTSD most times take several years to occur, the Air Force needs to prepare its medical personnel, as well as security force personnel, how to deal and defend themselves with someone with a victim of PTSD. Fortunately, there is treatment for PTSD. It can vary from counseling to medication, or both. Counseling can involve cognitive therapy, exposure therapy, and EMDR. Medication includes anywhere from mood stabilizers as well as antidepressants. We all need to prepare ourselves for these cases of PTSD. Awareness is key to helping our troops and their families. Although some cases may be mild, some may develop into more serious cases, which can also result in injury or even worse. Awareness begins with you. Thank you.